I'm going to tell you who the brains of the outfit are right now. And I'm strictly speaking Tekadon. Tekadon comprises 3 people who are actually the brains of the outfit. That is Eugene, Zack, and Yamagi. They are the 3 who are encapsulating, embodying the voice of the long-lost Biscuit, who's like, what the fuck are we doing? They're just like, they're the only ones speaking anything reasonable. The idea of actually questioning what the fuck Tekadon is doing. They are driving themselves into the ground, 6 feet under, and then some, at the behest of McGillis, Gallahorn, the Aryan Rod fleet. It's all a clusterfuck, as I said in my previous episode discussion video. Now we are, of course, talking about Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, episode 21 of season 2. And we start this episode off, I'm cringing because we're watching once again the bloody end of Shino, and I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. And of course we're calling back to Yamagi's hand as it clenches and he realizes his boy is gone. Somebody brought up in the comments of that particular previous episode discussion video the idea that Yamagi actually really loved Shino, and that was something that completely swooshed by me. I just thought they were like, you know, brothers or something like that. Like he looked up to Shino, and this was like a mentor to him, somebody he really cared about. Yes, they were family. I didn't think it was actually like he was in love with him. I didn't know that. Having found that out, it added an extra bittersweet punch to the gut that now Shino's gone, and now Yamagi has to continue living on in his absence, and we're already seeing other characters like dealing with that concept all over again. It's for the umpteenth time. These cats have to deal with their losses and surviving beyond some of their nearest and dearest, and Yamagi especially, I loved the heart-to-heart that, you know, goes on between he and Eugene after Yamagi, he overhears Orga just kind of like backpedaling and showing cowardice and being like, how did we get to this point? It's all my fault. I'm driving this family of mine to their penultimate demise, you know, and everything like that. We've come this far, and he realizes toward the end of the episode, everyone is existing at sort of on the whim of the seat of their pants just to try to answer to his promises, make those promises a reality. Everyone is existing and living their lives to make his grand exalted idea of the king of Mars and having someplace happy and very sort of the hearth and home to go back to, all this stuff. A lot of these characters have nothing, as they voiced in this episode, to go back to. And you got Zack, like, confronting Hash and the other guy, like, what are you thinking? Let's just leave. Let's leave now. We don't have a loyalty to Tekadon. Let's actually bear our common sense and get the hell out of here and go get a job somewhere. And you know, they're like, well, we don't really have many skills that we could employ that would be useful in employment. You know, they're going to look at us as trash, as, you know, fodder, and they're not going to care about us. Nobody's going to employ us. We've really got nothing. This is our life. This is what we have. And then, you know, they're looking up to Orga to fulfill that promise, as specious and maybe potentially out of reach as it may be. This is what's driving them all. And you have, again, characters like Yamagi and Eugene. Yamagi getting right up in Orga's face and being like, you're really going to do this now? It took, you know, I mean, we've gotten to this point. We've lost so many people. And then I lose Shino, and now I'm going to hear from you? Oh, maybe we shouldn't be doing it. Look at this. No. You know, I was like, I fucking clapped for Yamagi. And Eugene, he was like, you know, he's all apologizing to Eugene for having that outburst, but then Eugene's like, no, thank you. This is what I wanted to say myself. I've been choking it back for a while. I got to be loyal to the captain, to our leader and everything like that. But I love, in that early going, when they have the chaff about to go off, and of course you have Orga, you know, basically commanding, let's go get Shino's body. We got to get him, you know, we got to get all our people and everything like that. Dead or alive, doesn't matter. Bring him home. And Eugene's like, look, dude, we don't got time for that. He's grabbing him by the fucking throat. He's like, we don't got time for that. We got to get the fuck out of here. And then you got Mika and Julieta continuing their sparring back and forth. And I got to tell you, it's something I touched upon, the gray area of who's good, who's bad, who is the protagonist versus the antagonist in this series. Of course, I hate and I loathe McGillis at this point. For a little while, I was championing him. I was on the side of him. I thought, you know, let's take Gallahorn down a peg. You know, a lot of the people, the pomposity that is befilled of Gallahorn, it's like, yeah, you're revolted to them. You want to see them taken down, snapped back a couple of pegs. But now we see McGillis, you know, it's come to fruition what his true motivations are. He's lost his fucking mind. He's complete, you know, power-hungry. He could be a mad scientist if this was a science fiction movie from the 50s or something. You know, giant ants are going to swell over the world and try to eat everybody because of crazy McGillis, if this was that kind of framework. He's mad out of his fucking mind. And so I'm more sympathetic to characters like Gaelio. I mean, I was sympathetic toward him when I realized he was running to his own ruin in season 1. He and Ein and everything like that. I felt for them, and I was really strongly feeling for Julieta in the same sort of, you know, vein in her going up against Mika, because Mika's just a cold-blooded machine. He just, get out of my way. It's like he's the Terminator, for fuck's sake. Julieta has no chance at quelling him, at defeating him. I mean, she's going to go to her own demise if she's not careful and she's not backing down. No, let's not back down. I got my boy back in Iron Rod Fleet. I got Gaelio. I got these people. I also want my own strength. You know, I got all these people that I'm dealing with and I'm doing this for. She's kind of like a lamb lost in the woods. She has these ideals, and she thinks by taking these actions, she's living up to those ideals. Very similarly, though not nearly as impactful, at least for me, I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there who actually feels for this guy, but the right-hand man of McGillis who comes in, swoops in at the last minute, while he and Gaelio are having their bout going back and forth. They're sparring back and forth with the mobile suits, the Bile, and the Bidar, I think, is you know, Gaelio's. And all of a sudden, at the last second, because you got fucking McGillis, you know, that wound that he got in his hand for getting a little too close for comfort with little Amiria, you know, he stabbed through his hand, and I guess at a critical moment, he can't quite operate the Bile or something like that. There's some form of hesitation, and his boy comes in, swoops in at the last second, and saves his life, buying him time to get the fuck out of Dodge. And I'm just like, this guy, you know, it's kind of like what Gaelio's saying as this guy's dying, embedded on his spike and everything like that. He's like, no, you know, I once believed in the ideals, the outlook that McGillis had. I once actually was cut from the same cloth. I was pursuing the same dream of bringing Gallahorn back to square one, back to a purification. But this is sick. It's messed up. It's wholly fucked up. And now I realize all of that, it was specious. It was a dream. It was something undreamt. You know, it's not going to become a reality. And as if to nail that, you know, particular nail home by the end, in the coffin, arguably, of course, you have our boy, the leader of the Aryan Run Fleet. He's like, you don't even know what kind of mess you just got yourself into, McGillis. Keep running, but you're going to run right into the trap I set for you. He's got his boy, Arai, or whatever his name is, ready to welcome, you know, that whole sort of, I guess you could say, rebel movement within Gallahorn. They've got him cornered. They're running right into like a rabbit in a box, you know, something like that. Because apparently, while McGillis has been fucking around in space with Gaelio and everything, they've been going up against Arianrod, and Tekadon is, you know, they're all retreating and everything like that. Meanwhile, all this has been going on. They've stripped McGillis of his position in Gallahorn. So now, it doesn't matter. He doesn't have that sort of high-strung, highfalutin affiliation anymore. He's no longer a commander. And that just, it's like, you just had your ass handed to you. Smack upside the head, motherfucker. And so, I mean, it was just incredible to see, once again, the strategy and all of that stuff that was laid, you know, the groundwork for which was laid in the previous episode. And I was very championing the idea of, wow, we're seeing some crazy structuring and you know, like, tactician work here in the battle, the Aryan Rod Fleet, what they unleashed upon Tekadon and McGillis's people, his whole side of things, and it carries over into this episode. They had to tuck tail and run. Tekadon, McGillis's people, they tucked tail and ran like the Dickens, and it was just, again, I'm like, you know, I'm feeling for Gaelio. I sympathize with him, and I agree with him. McGillis is fucked. I think Ortega was getting that sense in that little bit of talking with them about what the next step is and all this shit. They have half as many mobile suits and ships in the fleet as when they started in the battle in the previous episode with Arianrod. And they're kind of like, what the fuck are we going to do now? And he's just like, well, there's no backing down. And that's the whole point. There's no backing down. And as I said at the start of the video, the boys with the brains in Tekadon, Eugene, Zach, Yami, let's get the fuck out of here. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are we following fucking McGillis? And so I love at the end, it's like a smack upside the head. As I said, you got Ortega and Mika. They're, you got to give me your role. We got to hunker down. There's no backing down. We got to show courage. In order to live up to the promise, the hopes, the dreams of everyone who's fucking died because they were following your ignorant ass. Yeah, now we're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna, it doesn't matter. There's gonna be a giant swathe in the ground of Mars, and in it is going to be a coffin. That coffin is gonna be the ship that houses everyone of Tekadon. They're all gonna be fucking dead because they're driving it into the ground. And I'm just like, oh shit. I'm glad. What I was going to say earlier is I'm glad Yamagi, he was able to find through Eugene that Shino was aware that he loved them. And that was something that, rather than being repulsed, I mean, some guys, if somebody is homosexual and they like them, they get, I'm not particularly that persuasion. I'd be flattered if another guy says, hey, you're cute, I dig you and everything like that. I'm not interested, but I'm flattered, that kind of thing. And he was really, really jovial about it. It made him want to be there for Yamagi and the rest of Tekadon that much more, because look at all the different types, the different walks of life. Even though a lot of them come from the same sort of origins. I mean, different strokes to move the world. There's a whole bunch of them, a whole bunch of different personalities and mindsets and thought processes and everything like that. It's very much like what, the modern countries of the world should be, at least in the sense of trying to get along, and the idea, if we call back to Star Trek, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. I love that idea. I love that we're all different. We're all individuals. We all have our different sort of mindsets, and as long as those don't have to come into conflict, we can have a really prosperous, interesting existence. And these guys, Eugene, Zach, Yamagi, they are the voice of reason. They are the biscuit a la season 2, in the vein of why are we doing this? What the fuck are we doing? We got to get the hell out of here. We got to disseminate ourselves from any of that Gallahorn McGillis bullshit. I'm wondering, I presume McGillis is driving his own end. He's going to come to an end bitterly, and I'm just wondering who's going to be responsible for that, whether it's going to be Galileo, who really wants to take him down, or if it's going to turn out to be Ortega. Ortega finally getting like one last-ditch jam up his ass to be like, you fucked us, motherfucker, and now I'm fucking you back. I'm fucking right up your fucking ass for all the deaths, for all the shit you spewed all over us. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Akihiro or something. I don't know. It would kind of be bittersweet, but maybe Yamagi, maybe he'll be the one to take McGillis out, the one who led them to this. I don't know. I really don't. It's all kinds of, I've said it like multiple times in my previous episode discussion video. It's a clusterfuck, and everyone's dying. Everyone's got the death flags raised. I thought it was funny how Hash is like to Astra, there's something different about you when she's all like aglow and she's all loving about it, like Mika's sitting there and he's off in his own sort of distant, framework as per usual. Mika, Mr. Distant, and she's so glowing. And that whole discussion they had in one of the previous episodes about, oh, you want to make babies? It's just like, did that happen? Is that why she's aglow? Is she just happy at the offer? Or maybe are we going to have little Mikas running around at some point? I don't fucking know. And so yeah, bring on the next one, because it's crazy. I don't know now, especially that, McGillis just realized, once again, wall, head, kapunk, they're trapped. Holy shit, so I can't wait to see what the hell happens next. And it's going to be a fun old time.